Hey friends, I hope you're all doing well. It's been a while since I recorded one of these walking and talking vlogs, and I've kind of missed them. But I've been busy with other things, but now that busyness has died down, I'm hoping to do these a bit more regularly. Just sharing my thoughts on music, how music relates to life, how they interact, some of my philosophies behind making music, some thoughts about my journey so far and where I want to take it, and hopefully you can join me on that journey and be part of this discussion, part of this community. I'd love to hear from you and your thoughts. So either get in touch directly or leave a comment, or whichever way you feel is best to let me know your thoughts on the particular subject of the week. And this week I want to talk about social media, or maybe I don't want to talk about social media. It's something that I don't particularly relish having to be part of. If it wasn't for Raphah and making music, I wouldn't be on social media at all. I don't really have any personal social media accounts, and the ones that I have got remaining from many years ago are very much dormant. I don't particularly like laying everything bare for the whole of the internet to see and to know about, but for music and for my Raphah project, it's been invaluable. And so I want to just talk about some of the pros and cons of social media, some of the experiences I've had, some of the good and some of the bad. I'll start with some of the downsides of social media for musicians, and preface that with the question, do we actually need it? Is it necessary to have social media accounts, to be active, to be involved? Would it actually make much of a difference if we didn't have social media? Now, that I think very much depends on your context, the type of music you make, the stage you're at. One of the downsides of having social media accounts is the need to create content for those platforms and to be active and to use it in such a way that it points people towards your music. It gives people an insight beyond the music into perhaps how you create it, your thoughts behind it, the process. And that pressure to create content, I think, can distract us from the main goal, which is to make the music in the first place. And so my personal tendency is to avoid doing that. And if I do post things to social media, it tends to centre around new releases or recording videos like this. And whether you describe YouTube as social media is a point I'm going to cover in a few minutes' time. And for me specifically, and I think what would be useful for many other musicians who feel that pressure, is to take the pressure off by using content you've already got. You make music already. You probably create short music videos or canvas clips for Spotify, or perhaps videos for YouTube, music videos. And so what I try and do is just chop those up or repurpose them into social media posts, because that saves me a load of work. And also it then points back to the music itself, whether that's a release date, whether that's a specific platform, if I'm trying to perhaps drive people to listen on a particular platform, or whether that's my Bandcamp page. And so I think that's quite a good and efficient way of not creating content specifically, but using what you've already created in that kind of way. I can really only speak to my own experience in using social media as a musician, and I've had two fairly distinct periods or experiences with that. The first was several years ago, before I discovered ambient music and got into this genre and producing that style of music. And I was writing lots of songs as a songwriter, worship music, and trying to forge a way forward and promote that. But I found it immensely difficult because, being a natural introvert, I didn't like having to promote myself, put my face and my name everywhere and try and push my music, because I felt very much like I was having to push it on people rather than them just discovering it by themselves and liking it for the sake of it. And because it wasn't particularly successful by any measure, I found myself having to push it extra hard, and the harder I tried, the more it fell flat. And so that was quite a difficult but valuable lesson. But when I pivoted to making ambient music, I found it completely different. Because I didn't feel any pressure to push the music. It wasn't something that I ever envisaged taking off or having any success. It was entirely for my own enjoyment, my own peace of mind, my own relaxation. And so when I started to release it, I put it out without any expectation. And because I was using an artist name as Raphah, I wasn't using my own name. And at that stage it was relatively faceless. I wasn't recording videos like this or putting my face on profile pictures. I found it much easier to actually post on social media without feeling that self-consciousness of pushing myself forward. And that may not be the experience of everyone. Perhaps it depends on your personality or your context or the style of music you're making, but certainly I found it much more comfortable to engage in social media as Raphah rather than as myself, which perhaps sounds slightly counterintuitive. And so those are just a couple of the, I suppose, downsides of social media. But another one which hits home quite regularly, and something I have to check myself for, is comparison. And they say that comparison kills creativity. I think there's a lot of truth in that. And there's no worse place for comparing yourself to others than on social media. That extends beyond creativity and music. I think many people on social media of all forms very much project a perfect image of themselves. Nobody posts really things that go wrong. They don't post pictures of their worst day when they're looking the worst, feeling the worst, and things aren't going as well as they would hope. And so there's often this false sense that everybody else in the world, everyone else's friends, family, connections are doing really well and you're the only one that's struggling. And that translates across to music as well. People, musicians, creative people will always celebrate the success. They'll always post the big wins. And there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. And I do that from time to time. But as someone who perhaps is not having a great week or a great month or a great year, is doubting themselves, has lost a creative spark, has got writer's block, is wondering what the point of it all is, seeing lots of other people doing well can discourage. And it's really, really important to remember that everybody's having bad days from time to time. It's not as portrayed on social media. It's very much a false environment to a large extent. So I have to remind myself of that when I'm seeing other people doing well. Not that I begrudge them or I'm envious at all. It's just that comparison that can sometimes start to niggle at the back of your mind. So if you find yourself doing that, as I do, I'd encourage you just to take stock, plough on, perhaps switch social media off for a week or two and get on with doing the creating and making the music, and then come back to it. Because it will turn around, it will change. Despite some of those negatives about social media, it definitely has a place and there are definite benefits to using it. I just think it's how you use it and using it in a way that best suits your personality, not trying to pretend to be somebody else, and not burdening yourself with thinking that you have to keep up with 3 posts a day and being as polished as everybody else appears to be. Just like with creating your music, it's important just to be yourself, because that will shine through, being authentic. And so that's how I try to approach social media. I think I should and could be a little bit more active. But again, I don't want to put pressure on myself. For me, the biggest advantage, the enormous benefit that I've got from social media is connecting with other like-minded artists. And I would say the vast majority of my friendships, my collaborations, and my network are down to Instagram in particular. And if it wasn't for Instagram, I don't think I would have made half the progress or half the friends that I now have. And that's how I very much see Instagram in particular. I don't see it as a platform for building a fan base. I don't think people go on social media necessarily to discover ambient music. And by social media in that context, I'm talking about your fairly mainstream Facebook, Twitter or X, Instagram, and so on. I think most people who are perhaps searching that out will go onto streaming platforms or perhaps YouTube. And so I don't treat it as a way to extend my fan base or get my music out into the world. I treat it very much as a way to connect with other musicians. Which also helps in some ways because I don't feel the pressure to push my music out there on those platforms. I see it as a way to share new projects and explore new opportunities to work with other people, and that's certainly what it's provided me, so I'm very grateful for that. I try not to post on multiple platforms either. I have Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, but I only really post to Instagram, which then cross-post to Facebook. If you haven't done that, by the way, it's quite a nifty way of not having to post across all the platforms every time you post. It just auto-posts, which is quite useful. Although I don't use social media as a way to reach out to new fans, I'm sure it does happen to an extent, but there's also other platforms that have a social media element that I'm trying to utilize to foster that side of things, YouTube being one of them. And the reason that I've started recording these videos and trying to expand my YouTube channel is to try and stop a minute. My dog has tied me up in the lead, so I'm going to twizzle around. What was I saying? I've no idea, forgotten now. Yeah, so some platforms, particularly now streaming platforms, have a social media element. I know Spotify have introduced a messaging facility, and I think their goal behind that is to try and build more of that community and engagement between fans and artists, and that's great. Also things like Bandcamp, which I really like. Although my following on there is fairly small, I figure people that have bought music on there or taken a positive action to sign up as part of my mailing list or to take a further interest in future releases are really invested and really like what I'm doing. They're not just a passing listener on a playlist. So that's really important to me. I'm trying to foster that community and trying to explore different ways, as I've mentioned in previous videos, of communicating, interacting and building a genuine social network, not just social media interactions and likes and reposts and any other method of engaging with social media. Building something really authentic where I can share of myself, I can engage with people that really love ambient music and mine in particular, and then use that as a springboard to get more inspiration and share future music with those people that are really invested. So perhaps that's a little bit around the houses. I didn't really have a structure for what I was going to say today. But I think my main takeaway from this video is, if you are a musician, particularly in the ambient, instrumental type circle, is use social media in a way that suits you. Don't feel pressure to have to produce lots of content. If you're really good at doing that and you enjoy doing it, then by all means go for it. But I certainly don't particularly relish the thought of spending hours crafting Instagram stories and reels and things like that. But I do see the value. And to me, it's all a means to an end. It's a way to connect with people. I'm not bothered about how many people like my posts, how many followers I have, what reach or influence is showing up on the stats. I'm just interested in connecting with real people on the other end and sharing my music, sharing my heart and sharing my journey through those platforms. So in summary, is social media useful? Yes, it is, absolutely. But I would just hold it lightly. Dog's twisted me up again. Come on. And use it to your advantage. Like with all these things, it's just a tool. So I think that's it. I think that's all I've got to say about social media. But I'd love to know your thoughts. If you're a musician, you use it effectively, perhaps some of the techniques you use, some insights. If you have a loathing for it, perhaps why. And if you're not a musician, but you're watching this, then engage in the social aspect, leave a comment, that would be absolutely brilliant. And I've got, on a slightly different tangent, I've got lots of things in the pipeline now. My busy work period is over. I had a single out today, and I've completely forgot the name of it. It's Friday and I'm tired. What's the name of it? Presence. It's called Presence. It's part of a 4-track EP released through Echoes Blue, which is out in a couple of weeks' time. I've just finished work on my first album, which, having been doing this now 4 years, seems like it's well overdue, but I have now done a whole album. So I'm just finishing that up, and I'm working with a couple of friends on an extra couple of tracks which they're going to remix, which is really exciting. So really looking forward to releasing that, and as and when that's ready, I will let you know. Hopefully more of these videos to follow, and more music. Another exciting development is that I'm doing something I've wanted to do for probably 18 months, which is to start another project, because I'm not busy enough. So I decided to try making some more music. So I'm going to be starting a new moniker, releasing some more music under a different name. And that's going to be less compositional and melodic than Raphah, a bit more experimental, a bit more atmospheric, at least to start. We'll see where that evolves to. But I've already created a few tracks for that, really pleased with how they're sounding. It's kind of what I envisaged before I even started. I now have a name for that project, which is the main thing holding me back. I just could not think of something good to call it. And so again, with that, if you want to keep up to date with that progress and releases under that project, you can sign up. My mailing list link will be in the description below, or just check back on YouTube regularly, because I'll be doing updates and various other things. That's it for now. Thanks very much for joining me, and I'll see you soon.